You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Well, welcome everybody to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I am so honored to be joined on what is arguably a very, very sad day for not only just myself, but also the Nightly News Media Club and Central Penn College at large. We are here with Nightly News President Abbee Breski, and this will be Abby's final podcast as she is getting ready to graduate with her bachelor's degree in corporate communication. So first of all, Abbee, welcome to the show. You've been on so many of these podcasts. This one might be the saddest, though.
I think for sure it's going to be the saddest, but I'm so grateful to be here and get to talk about all the fun things that I've done.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to go back to when I first got to know you, and, you know, you came in as an accounting student, which I always like to talk with you about. What was, when you came to Central Penn, what was the thought process behind being an accountant? Not speaking ill of accountants. We need these folks.
Yes.
But, you know, seeing your growth, it's just funny to me to think that when you came in that was your chosen career path. But even I changed my major back in college. So tell me, what was the thought process when you came here?
So I think it was a lot of personal growth. Nothing against accountants, like you said, but accounting was an easy topic for me in high school. So it was an easy choice to come into Central Penn, as knowing it as like a business school, to come in, do accounting, you know, have that guaranteed job. It was pretty much a narrow path. You obviously have many different options, but not as much maybe as a communications major. And then I had Professor Black for Introduction to Human Communications. I don't know what it was. She just empowers you to do what you want to do. And I think deep down, I've always had that creative and that passionate side of writing and speaking to others. So she was like, you should talk to Professor Miller. And then she's got me into the West Shore program. So I think I've had a lot of self-growth, a lot of self-confidence gained through kind of doing what I want to do and finding where I want to be.
And one of the big things I do want to talk to you about, because that's really the first time that I got to know you, even before, you know, Professor Black sent you over. And of course, we'll talk about Professor Black here in a little bit to talk a little bit more about the film series and officially invite you as alumni to that. But Professor Black's a wonderful person, and you're certainly not the only one that she has brought over to the comm program, and we appreciate that very much. But the thing that stuck out about you so much was your affiliation with the West Shore Connect program. Now, again, we've had you on to talk about this before. Fans of the podcast already know sort of the answer to the following question. But, you know, first of all, when I first found out that the West Shore Connect program was coming here on campus, it spoke to me as someone with a special needs adult son who didn't have this opportunity and potentially could have excelled in such an opportunity. But that was one of the first things that I knew about you, was that you were dedicated to this program. Now, obviously, at least I hope, I don't want to say obviously, but at least I hope anybody listening knows what the West Shore Connect program is. But it's a partnership with the West Shore School District for some of their special needs individuals between the ages of 18 to 21. So if you don't know, individuals with special needs are able to go to their school until they're 21 years old. This is a really innovative program, one of the few that I'm aware of, that allows them to not have to stay in high school for essentially 7 years and to experience college. So what was it about this program that spoke to you at that time when you came on board?
I think a lot of it had to do, and I know I've spoken about this before, but my will to help others, my passion for helping others. I have always been an anxious person. It's always a part of my nature, I guess you could say. And I've always wanted other people to fit in. I went through, unfortunately, 2 years of severe depression where I felt like very isolated and very alone. And I felt no value in myself. And once I kind of came to the other side of that, I put my life lesson or my life goal as helping others and making sure nobody else feels that way. So for them, it's a whole different experience with them, because they are some of the most positive and the most just enlightening human beings, I think sometimes without even trying to be. So as much as I've, mentored them and taken them to jobs or things like that, they really encourage me to continue what I'm doing, because they love to hear about what you're doing and the different progresses that you can make. So
One of the first times that I remember really having the opportunity to work with you was when we did the West Shore Connect PSA video with Jen Dulac and Dylan Bowman, and you were also very integral in that particular experience. But you were still pretty early on in the program. And I remember talking to you, and it was almost like the conversation I had in class the other day about, what your role was going to be and how you could assist. And you kept, at that point, I noticed that you didn't seem confident in yourself at the time. Did that experience help elevate your confidence somewhat, that you were able to be part of a team and able to put something together that was that fantastic to be proud of years later? Like, tell me about maybe how that experience might have changed or elevated your confidence level.
It most definitely did. I've learned that there is parts of my character and things that I've learned that I'm able to share with others, and I think that's empowered me a lot. And a part of that experience, when it was first brought to me, I was like, there's no way. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing. But I think it taught me most that when you're passionate about something, the sky's the limit, 100%. I think if you really feel strongly about something, then the rest will fall into place.
And this is back to what I was referencing earlier. One of the things in our projects and corporate communication program, which of course we'll talk about that here shortly, that I have everybody do is kind of write this post-project reflection piece. And as I was talking to some students, and you were not one of them, but as I was talking to some students in the class, I think a lot of the times they were downplaying what they'd done. And so I tried to put into perspective for them that even though on the surface what you did might not have been, massive and totally changed the world, that the efforts that you made still made a huge difference. For instance, in your case, now granted, your job, if I recall correctly, during that time was basically helping the guests. We had I don't know, half dozen to 10 guests that we had that day that needed to be recorded, and you were sort of in the green room area, talking to them, walking them through what they were going to be doing, keeping everything organized. Now, on one hand, you could look at this like, well, I spent a few hours there and I just talked to some people. But on the other hand, you have to look at it in the totality of what we actually did. That video has hundreds of views. It was shared not only with the college community, but also West Shore School District. Potential enrollees to the program are now having this, so they have a sense of what the program is. So yes, even though on one hand, we spent a day or two working on this, right?
Right.
On the other hand, that video has helped propel many others into this program. And so, yeah, I guess you could, on one hand, you could look at, I didn't really feel that I did that much. But on the other hand, you were an integral piece of the puzzle here. And so this was the conversation I was having about these projects that we've been doing. Sure, you could look at what you did as something that's not super major, but when you look at actually why you did it and the impact that it could have, large or small, with the different organizations that we're working with, I mean, it really does add up to something major.
And I'm not sure if you've realized this, but the students that come into the West Shore program, they're like, when am I getting my video? When am I getting my podcast? Because they've seen Addie come through and they've seen him do all the things he's done, and they love it. They love that they're a part of it, so that I appreciate. But I think, too, it took me a while to learn that what I do can have an impact. It took me a minute, and I brought this up on the last podcast I was on, but on the West Shore Connect, their graduation day, they had like an ending like thank you video for me. And I think that's when it kind of set in, because I didn't realize, like, I was just doing that because I was having fun. Like, I was having conversations with people every day, learning different things, and just talking them through life that's happening that week. But to like kind of get that they really understand who I am and what I was trying to do, it was just like a surreal moment for me.
You're probably a celebrity down there in this suite. Well, I want to talk about a couple of more things in terms of the club. So you have done a ton of really fantastic written work. You have been on the cover page of our publication, I believe, 3 consecutive times, which is a record. And I also might add, you have the longest tenure of any president ever. And I went back and did some digging. It was close. Brian Cristiano was for a while as well. but you were actually president for almost over 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So when you think back to the written work that you did, you've done a ton of great stories. What was one that you're always going to remember doing?
Oh, that's a hard one. There's a few that come to mind. I've become quite interested in history. So I think the one I did on the homecoming story in the library, where all of those historic pieces were displayed in the library, that was an important one to me. And then I think the Myers Brothers story is up there.
And
it's very interesting.
And there's no question about that. And both of those stories are still available on our blog. I actually just referenced the homecoming story today because we're obviously getting ready to come back into homecoming, and we were, looking back at what we did last year. To me, that was one of the coolest things that I got to be a part of here over the past few years. Obviously, I love sports, but we'll come to that in a minute. I love being able to look back at the history of the school. We have such a rich history in this area. I mean, even just being down here since the early 1970s. So we've been here for over 50 years.
Yes.
But even being an institution since 1881, to look back on some of the historical artifacts that we had unearthed, I thought was cool, and you did a great job with the story.
It was fascinating, and I tell people this all the time, it's even more fascinating to me because my grandmother went to Central Penn in Harrisburg when it was in Harrisburg, and then my aunt came here once they got to Summerdale. But it obviously wasn't what it is today. But it's just learning that what the campus has meant to different students and what they've had available, and it's crazy to see where we're at today and how much opportunity students have.
Well, I do want to move on to sports. You have been, and hopefully will continue to be, we'll have to have that conversation at some other time, but an integral part of Knight's athletics, especially over the past year. Not only just being our first sideline reporter, which is amazing, and those videos are always so much fun to watch, but then you got into the photography aspect of it during the last year. Of course, you had big shoes to fill. Nightly News photographer Dylan Bowman had won 2 statewide photography awards for sports photos. What was it like the first time that you stepped onto that basketball court and it was your job to take photos and not Dylan's?
It was intimidating. I'm not going to lie. Because Dylan has so much experience and he's so good at what he does. It was actually funny. I talked to the players before and I was like, I'm not Dylan. You're going to have to give me a grace period here. But it was great. It was exciting. I've always loved, those, growing up as a kid and seeing like highlights and things like that. And so being able to capture those was so exciting and so fascinating to see the different things that you're able to capture on the court that maybe they don't realize is happening. But basketball was a challenge. Inside, you're fighting some lighting, some positioning. And then you also
trying not to get killed by people that are actually playing in the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize you can't, or I didn't realize, when I'm taking pictures, you can't be in line with the key. So I'm like trying to like stay out of that, but also trying to like get them going up. So it was a learning experience, but it was so much fun. And at the end, I've had a few that I'm proud of. So that's all I can ask for.
Well, and I remember the first couple times, I had to talk with you about, your confidence, I remember last year it was my job to take photo of the homecoming soccer matches. And
that's a big field.
Well, the ladies' game was first, and those pictures turned out wonderfully. But as soon as the sun went down, it started raining, and because of the lights and the rain, I probably took 500 pictures, and I might have had 30 that were usable. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a professional photographer by any means, but I have taken photography courses as part of my PhD, and I've done some, in my personal opinion, some really good work. So that was frustrating to me too, so I know exactly how you feel. But let me ask you this. In its totality, not even just the photography piece, right? What were some of the things that you can look back on in your experience being part of the Nightly News Athletics broadcast, both with soccer, well, with all of soccer, basketball, and baseball? Like, as you think back years from now, what are you going to take away? What are you going to remember?
I think there's a few things. I have appreciated Casey Hicks and Kenton Austin. They both take on a very, mentorship role. They're there to advocate for you and be your biggest cheerleader. And then just the relationships that I've been able to build with the athletes kind of getting to know them and who they are as people, because you see them on the roster, but you don't really know them. I think that's something that I'll take forever and I'll be able to appreciate, is just those relationships and people appreciating my art, but my appreciation for what they're able to do on the field or the court, wherever it may be.
And the ESAC title game last year. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I was a little scared at the end because it was like the final out, and I was debating, do I try to make it down the stairs to get them right away? Like,
because it was a walk-off, and usually you were in position,
right,
because we usually knew that the game was one way or the other going to end. Here we had no clue.
It was a walk-off. Tanner was a freshman.
Yeah.
So it was, and as a sports fan, you're invested in it. Like, no matter what level, you're invested. It's ending of their season. You want them to win. And then, so I'm trying to also capture, though, like, I can't miss this photo. There's no way I'm missing this photo.
The photo that you ended up getting is so memorable, has been used in so many different ways, not even just on our blog, but all around in all types of different publications. It was one of the best pictures I think that we've ever put out, and clearly going to be one of the things that we are going to submit into the PNA Awards, which is where Dylan won some of those. Gosh, and just to your point, Abbee, I remember I was calling that game with Steve, and between innings we would take 30 seconds, right? Because we're never really off. But we would take 30 seconds between innings to just rest our voice. And I remember looking over at him and saying, I really hope that I'm doing a good job here, because I am so emotionally invested into this game. Yes. It gets to the point where, and granted, we're just doing the home games, but still we know all these people. Some of them are friends or classmates, and to see what they're able to do on the field and know how much it means to them, against a really, really tough opponent. One game, winner take all. Yes. I mean, it was just, I can't put into word. I will never, as long as I live, forget that day, and I'm so glad that you were there to help experience it, but not only that, cover it as well.
I think it was something special, and I tell a lot of them, especially because, we have a lot of the baseball players in the communications program, and I'll go up to them after, seeing them play a season or a couple games, and I'm like, who is that person out there? Like, it brings out like a different determination in them. I'm like, you're so quiet everywhere else. But on the field, it's like this different person, which I appreciate and I love.
I think that's probably you, right, from your softball days.
Yeah, definitely a different person. But it's so cool to see.
Well, obviously you've meant so much to us as part of the Nightly News. Being president for so long, working with so many people, working with athletics, helping with the CPC film series. I mean, you were on the fundraising committee. You helped with a lot of that stuff. I mean, I just personally can't thank you enough, not only for myself, but on behalf of the other people that you helped to lead. And that's what, to me, is the most important thing. Like, you were our leader, and it makes us who we are. And, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the 2023 Club of the Year. That's as much your award as it is anyone else's. And I hope that, you can take pride in that Club of the Year award, because without you, I don't believe we get that. So I hope that was something that meant something special to you, because, frankly, you're the reason we got it.
I appreciate that. And I think the Club of the Year is something special because, and I said this, in our story that was written about the other award that we had gotten last year, but the Nightly News, I feel like, is something special because we are so interactive with mostly every other club or athletic team on campus. So, and we each have our role, which is even more fascinating. I don't think people realize. We each have our role and this campus interests or athletics and different things like that. So I think it's something special because we all get to work together and find what we love and then succeed together, which is something great.
Well, we can't wrap this podcast up without talking about something else that was really, really, really important to you, and that is Sandy Box and the Central Penn College Education Foundation. So not only did you do an independent study with her, which was sort of like a mini experiential learning internship, you also came back this year to work with her as part of our Projects and Corporate Communication class, not only helping to put together the golf tournament, but another variety of tasks, as Sandy unfortunately will be gone at the end of the year. I want to know, when you look back, not only what was so important about working with this organization, but what were some of the memories that you're going to take away and maybe skills that you've built because of this interaction?
There's so many. for the most part, I'm gonna remember the Golf Open, of course, forever. It's such a great event for a great cause. I think the people that I've gotten to speak with, they truly love doing what they do each year, and they have so much fun at this event that she holds.
And it was another good time on a beautiful day.
Right, it was another beautiful day. We might have been delayed a little bit, but
well, we don't want to golf in 6 inches of rain.
we got it in. And then working with Sandy, I tell her all the time how much I appreciate her and the person that she is and the mentor she is for other students. And I tell people that don't know her, you should. Like, she is the person behind the scholarships, yes, but she's the person behind, a smile every day. When I see Sandy, she's always smiling. She's always happy. And even on days that she's stressed out, she's so thrilled that she gets to do the things that she can do for students. Another side note, those thank you notes that you submit, she reads every single one of them. And then sponsors or people that donate, they also read them. So, if you feel strongly about it, I would tell you to put what you feel about the scholarship, because I know it means a lot to me, and being able to continue my education with a little less financial burden. But
well, in your case, a lot less, because you've done very well over the years.
Yes.
And I actually get to, as we record this, I'm actually going to get to go to my last scholarship selection committee meeting with Sandy. And, I may shed a tear before we leave. I just want to remind you one thing. Number one, you have a friend in Sandy forever. And I hope that you that you continue to cultivate that friendship. But I also want to point out that you have a friend in all of us here at the school. The people that you have touched and led and mentored in your own right, your colleagues, your classmates. You need to cultivate these relationships. But most importantly, you have to keep in touch with us. Because I will I will always keep a bug in your ear about, keeping up with us about how things are going. Because, one of the toughest things that I can honestly tell you for me in this industry is watching people like you leave. Now, obviously, this is the whole goal. Like, I get that my job is to work with you for, while you're doing your degree, and when you're done with your degree, send you on your way. But I don't look at it like that. I look at someone like you as somebody who I certainly hope at a minimum that stays in touch with not only just me, but others here as well. You have gone down as one of the most influential students that I can ever recall in my 11 plus years of being here. And I don't just want you to leave when the time is up. I want you to continue to stay in touch with these people. And you are now our peer. It's not like you're not my student anymore, you're my peer. The same as, people like Brian and Norm and Parker and Tyler. Like, I still stay in touch with these guys. And Sherry and Christine, the Hall of Famers. And I'd also just like to tell you, just maybe this will reduce a little bit of stress for you. You're in. So you don't have to worry about that. And, in about a year from now, when we have the next Hall of Fame, we certainly hope that you'll accept the induction when that time comes. So, Abbee, again, this is the toughest thing, is getting to spend time with people like you and to see them go. And of course, I know it's in your best interest, but we don't want to see you go, because in a way we know that it's going to be such a major void in the club, the program, the school, the West Shore Connect program, all these places. The foundation is going to have a void because you're gone. So just remember how much, yes, we've meant to you, but how much you've meant to all of us. Beyond that, I don't really know that I can put much else into words.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you encouraging me along the way, even when I don't feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing, even though I'm doing as much as I can. But I appreciate all that you said, and I appreciate everything that you do for your students and everything that everybody in the communications major does. And even just seeing people come together at the athletic events, seeing different faculty and staff come and support their students. It's a family environment here, I think, and it's something special to see.
Well, basketball's coming up. We hope that in addition to whatever job that you end up getting, which I'm sure isn't going to be long, that maybe you can still squeeze some time in for some side work to continue working with Knights Athletics, at least through the coming up season and hopefully in the future, because you mean that much to us, and we always try to find a place for people like you who have made such an impact on us. And I hope that, when the time comes, we can have that conversation, and you'll be back out there taking some photos for us and maybe even doing some sideline reporting.
Yes, it's so much fun. I'll always come back.
Well, Abbee, I hate to say this. I hate to sign off. I guarantee you before the next Hall of Fame, we'll have you back. So this won't be the last time. And the irony that we get this cool new studio and this is your last time, right? But again, I think I said what I wanted to say, and I don't want to go on and gush beyond that. But just know that you're a Hall of Famer, and it's not everybody that gets in. It's not, as one of my favorite podcasters, Tony Kornheiser from Pardon the Interruption, always says, it's not the Hall of the Very Great. So I hope that resonates with you, and I hope that you're just proud of all your accomplishments.
I appreciate that, and I'm so happy to see what I got to do here, and hopefully only can continue to come back and report what I'm doing.
And that's all we ask. Well, Abbee, thank you again for your time today, for being you, for being compassionate, for being caring about others, for doing everything in your power to get better, to build self-confidence, and to lead. I mean, I know that these skills that you've learned, you're going to put forward in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. I want to thank, for the last time, Nightly News President Abbee Breski for joining us today on her final podcast. This will be the last episode for us this term. We'll be back in the fall term with plenty of new podcast guests as we look forward to the film series and episode 200 coming up. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. We'll see you again next time.
Hi, this is Brian Christiana. Thank you for listening to the Nightly News Podcast, a part of the Nightly News Media Club here at Central Penn College.
This is Nightly News correspondent Noah Lopez with the summer 2024 episode of the Nightly News Brief. This news podcast features audio versions of stories from our student reporters. Articles by Abbee Breski, Kevon Davis, Noah Lopez, Hannah Pasquarella, and even Professor Paul Miller are featured in today's episode. Nightly News Media Club members and Central Penn Knights baseball joined forces on Sunday for a baseball clinic with the Camp Hill Senior Challenger Baseball League. Camp Hill Challenger Baseball, a league for children with special needs residing in Cumberland, Dauphin, Perry, and York counties, also features a league for adults 21 and over. The senior division met at the Vault Indoor Baseball Facility in Mechanicsburg for an afternoon of skills building on the field. The group of volunteers, consisting of Kevon Davis, Brett Sevaleski, Anderson Bridwell, and Addie McConovic, offered 4 different stations to help the players refine their skills and develop new ones. Stations for pitching, fielding, and 2 different types of batting practice were offered. After the stations concluded, each player got to play home run derby, where they had 3 minutes to take their best swings to knock one out of the park. While the Camp Hill Challenger baseball season concludes in early June, the Nightly News has been planning this clinic since the spring term. The league will reconvene next spring, with sign-ups beginning in January. If anyone is interested in more information on Camp Hill Challenger Baseball, visit www.camphilllittleleague.com and click on the Challenger Division tab. Time management is a crucial skill for college students. Balancing classes, assignments, part-time jobs, and social activities can be tough. Below are some simple tips to help you manage your time better. 1. Create a schedule. One of the best ways to manage your time is to create a schedule. Use a planner or digital calendar to plan your day. Include class times, study sessions, work hours, and entertainment or leisure activities. 2. Prioritize your tasks. Not all tasks are equally important. You can prioritize your assignments and activities based on their deadlines and importance. This approach helps you avoid last-minute stress. Thirdly, break down large projects. Large projects can be intimidating. Break them down into smaller, manageable tasks. For example, if you have a research paper due in a month, divide it into steps, like choosing a topic, conducting research, creating an outline, and writing the draft. Next, avoid procrastination. To avoid avoiding what you know you must do, set specific goals for each study session. Write out all the things that you strive to accomplish. Stick to the plan. Next is stay organized. Keeping your study space and materials organized can save you time and reduce stress. Use folders, binders, and digital tools to keep your notes and assignments in order. This will allow you to hone in on the task at hand, eliminating clutter that might be a hindrance to your work and to your success. Also, studying in a quiet place and turning off your phone or social media notifications can help you reduce distractions. Next, you want to learn to say no. It's important to recognize your limits. Sometimes, you need to say no to additional commitments to avoid overloading yourself. Focus your priorities and don't feel guilty about turning down extra tasks or social invitations. And lastly, seek help when needed. If you are struggling with time management, don't hesitate to seek help. Many colleges offer resources such as academic advising, tutoring centers, and counseling services that help you enhance your skills. In the end, you can reflect on your time management practices and adjust them as you see fit. Throughout August, Central Penn College conducted a food drive to support the college pantry, a campus food pantry that serves residential, commuter, and online students. This food pantry needs non-perishable items, cleaning supplies, paper plates, and personal care items, such as razors and body wash. Specifically, items like cereal, soups, mac and cheese, Windex, sponges, toothpaste, deodorant, and paper towels are always in need. Money left over from a previously received grant allowed the pantry to purchase a freezer, expanding its operations even further. With that, freezer items like Hot Pockets, microwavable meals, and veggies are needed. Bins to place donated items will be in the A-Tech lobby or outside the mailroom in Bollinger Hall. Food items will then be collected weekly and brought back to the pantry for organization. Freezer items should be brought directly to the Residence Life office in Bollinger 40. The food pantry also accepts gift cards for grocery stores. You can also find inexpensive items to donate at stores like Dollar Tree and Grocery Outlet. According to the Central Penn College website, the college pantry, which started in the summer of 2018, has reported having received hundreds of requests for food, including students who may have requested items more than once. Students can find the link to request items from the food pantry on Student Central or the Central Penn app. They can also pick up orders in the Residence Life office in Bollinger 40. Even after this food drive concludes, donations for the college food pantry are always accepted. Linwood Lincoln, also known as Lynn, and William Harrison, also known as Billy, Myers were baseball stars from the Enola area who played in the major leagues in the 1930s and 40s, and who are well chronicled and remembered in East Pennsboro Township and far beyond. The brothers, Lynn, born February 23, 1913, and Billy, born August 14, 1910, still have family in the area. One telephone call to the Historical Society of East Pennsboro led to Lynn's daughter, Barb Holly. Holly said her dad didn't speak about his 2 seasons in the major leagues with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he typically was more interested in his time in the Twilight League in West Fairview. After he retired from professional baseball in 1942, Holly also said Lynn was a current-day type of person. He was more concerned about what was happening daily rather than living in the past. Billy's first major league hit was reported in the article "The Night the Lights Came On in Baseball," written by a member of the Historical Society of East Pennsboro. That game was played in 1935, in the first major league night game at Crossley Field, Cincinnati, against the Philadelphia Phillies. Not only was that hit Billy's first, but it was the first in that game. He received some votes for Most Valuable Player in the National League in 1937 and in 1939, according to Major League Baseball. Before all that glory, though, Billy was traded on August 6, 1934, from the St. Louis Cardinals minor league team on December 14th of the same year. He was traded to the Cincinnati Reds. It was with the Reds that Billy played in the 1940 World Series against the Detroit Tigers, a game in which he hit a fly ball that brought the Reds the run that won the team the game and the World Series that season. Billy was also one of the first professional baseball players to play on television, during the first televised game played on August 26, 1939, when the Reds split a doubleheader with the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field, Brooklyn, where he had to dress up in a red suit prior to the game, a requirement he did not like. He ended his major league career with the Chicago Cubs in 1941. Billy was going to quit the sport in 1939 due to his pay not going in his favor. He was quoted in a newspaper story titled, "Local Boys Make Good," stating, quote, "The guys now make more in meal money than I did in salary," end quote. However, each home run he hit, he got a free carton of Wheaties. After he was done playing, he returned home to West Fairview, working on the railroad as a locomotive engineer. He is a member of the Cincinnati Reds Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum and the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. Even after his time in the minors, in the International League, and playing baseball in the Army, Lynn continued to play locally. Lynn worked closely with his brother on the railroad as a fireman, and then as an engineer. Holly, Lynn's daughter, said people still requested his autograph as he aged. Lynn died in Harrisburg in January 19, 2000, at the age of 86. Billy died on April 10, 1995, in Carlisle, at 84. The brothers are buried in Rolling Green Memorial Park, Camp Hill. The Myerses displayed a love for the game, more than for the fame of the National League. The brothers' story shows their and the nation's love of the game from early on, and the part of the Enola area's rich baseball legacy. Central Penn College recently held a successful 2-on-2 cornhole tournament, drawing the largest number of participants in the event's history. A total of 8 teams competed in the tournament, making it the most attended cornhole event on campus to date. The tournament was organized by an intern from the Central Penn Athletics Department, Kevon Davis, who, as a part of his internship duties, is hosting 3 campus events during the summer term. The event was a great success, with participants smiling, laughing, and enjoying themselves throughout the day. Games were played simultaneously, with team members reporting their scores after each match. Congratulations to Michael Pico, a database systems analyst at Central Penn, and Steve Hassinger, director of the college's Career Services Department, for winning the tournament. And a big thank you goes out to everyone who participated and supported the event. Later in the summer term, Davis helped coordinate a pool party, which was also highly attended. For more information on future events, you can contact Central Penn Athletic Director Casey Hicks at caseyhicks@centralpenn.edu or the event organizer at kevon.davis@mymail.centralpenn.edu. This has been Noah Lopez with the summer 2024 episode of the Nightly News Brief.